Okay, what's up, guys? So I'm gonna be doing a full SAT part two for reading and writing, and I'm just gonna work through it and then show my thought process. The next SAT is in like a week, so this should try to help you out. I'm not that good at teaching reading and writing, which is why I haven't done that much, but let's get into it. All right. So question one, right? And this is part two. So question one, we have it's just a whole lot of yap. And to be honest, when I get stuff like this, I do the question first. So as used in the text, what does the word trace most nearly mean? So now we're going to find trace. No trace of their passing to be left. So it's not blemish, it's not amount, it's not sketch, it's going to be evidence. And we can check that. And okay, it's evidence because a trace of their passing is like an evidence that they were there, like an evidence they were passing by. None of the other options work because if you plug them in instead of tracing, it's not going to work. Like a blemish of their passing, it doesn't work. All right. Question two. The works of Chicana artist Esther Hernandez are now blank in museums. So these are the four words. Are now, well, we can just plug the words in. Are now invented in museums? Doesn't make sense. Are now adjusted in museums? Doesn't make sense. Are now featured in museums? That one makes sense. Are now recommended in museums? Again, doesn't make sense. So it's C. Okay, words in context. Skeptical colleagues had initially suggested that the Kia's interactions with the stones might simply be blank. Might simply be blank. So, might simply be. That means it's suggesting that it's not really logical. So, intriguing, obvious, observable, accidental. Not logical, accidental. So we're gonna go with C. Okay, I don't know why my mouse is lagging. Alright. And okay, it's C. Question 4. 18th century historian Edward Gibbon thought the only character defect. We don't even need to read this actually. His overly permissive nature led him to blank the vices of those who surrounded him. So which phrase completes it? We can just plug it in again. Anytime you see a word blank, just fill in the word. Yeah, that's how I do it. His overly permissive nature led him to indulge, despise, moderate, or criticize the vices of those around him. Hmm. His mild temperament, permissive, meaning he lets people do anything. So despise, no. Moderate means to control, so no. Criticize, not really. So we're gonna go with indulge. Again, some basic vocabulary knowledge is important, but it's not anything out of the ballpark. So one of the driest places on earth, they search for life. Okay. So what is the function of the sentence? Well, they established a desert here, and now they're comparing it to Mars. And so this could help show this is well okay. A might be a nice answer for a lot of people to contrast the conditions, but you can see that it doesn't really contrast the conditions. It just says that they resemble, which is actually not contrast, it's more compare. To explain why many life forms cannot survive in the ant. That doesn't really explain. It just says it's harsh. To indicate why they chose to construct it there. Now this makes a lot of sense because that's a why. And then to describe certain limitations, not really. So it's C. Question 6. In Quasati, which of the okay, let's read the question. Which choice best describes the overall structure of the text? Describes. Okay, let's see what it does. So here it talks about what the language is and how it works. Here, base form is truncated, and then it talks about what it is, and then why it's special. So specific words, check. The general linguistic phenomenon, again, and then that it occurs frequently. So this seems like the best option. D might be like relevant, but it doesn't really argue about scholars at all. And then A doesn't compare to other languages, and B, it doesn't really compare into wait. It doesn't compare examples of other languages again. So again, this is the best answer for C. Okay. Okay, so when you get to questions like this, the most important thing is to know why the other options are wrong, not why yours is right. If you can prove the other one's wrong, then you can figure out which one is right. So, which choice best describes what's happening in the text? The glow from the sunset was making the street radiant. The street is nice in this light. And that's what she's thinking. Swarming with children. Okay. She says it's nice, so it can't be. She says it's nice, so it cannot be B. Is she puzzled by it? Not really. Spending time alone in an apartment, she's saying the day is nice. Why would this be the answer? So it's gotta be A. Okay, question 8. What is the main idea of the text? So now we actually had to read the text. Chosen to lead the federal theater project. Works progress administration. If you guys are taking A push, you should know about this. Um, she kept tickets low, which meant people could afford. So again, this is not focusing on the FDP, but it's focusing on what she did as the director. So this is going to be the main idea. And again, we can run back with all the options to make sure they're not right. This is correct. Like this as a statement is correct, but is that the main idea? Is that what it's talking about throughout the text? No, it only mentions it like right here, not the whole text. Many people couldn't afford. This is more implied than anything when it says this. Jobs provided were intended mainly for this. Again, does not say that anywhere. It just says that she created them. So it's more focusing on what she did as a person. All right. Question 9. Central ideas and details. So recently, according to text, what was surprising to scientists studying the seismic activity data from NASA's InSight lander? So what was surprising? Not this. Wait, the data show that the all stars in the same location on the planet. This discovery was surprising. It literally just tells us. It has to be that. It's literally in the text. They all start from the same location. Okay. I don't know why I just gave us the answer there. This is part 2. Okay. So, is using the table as part of a social studies class presentation on the US auto industry. Uses data to complete the statement. According to the table from 1910 to 1925. Okay, 1910, 1925. Companies decreasing, numbers increasing. Numbers of cars produced increase, but the number of companies producing cars decrease. Okay. Well, we can just check the other options, but that's gotta be the answer. If you guys are messing up number ones like this, then I feel like you guys are just going too fast with the question. Just slow it down and then like think. For me personally, when I take English, the biggest thing I mess up on is going too fast and making a stupid mistake. And then there's always like vocabulary, which is always just a RNG, you never know. The bet is in 1889. Okay, which quotation most effectively illustrates the claim? A banker is described as being very upset about something. Okay, well, we're talking about emotions. So, can't be this one because he's delighted. Can't be this one because no emotions. And there's no emotions here. It's gotta be this one. Tears and emotions. Upset at something. Okay. Um, question 12. Which choice most usually to complete the claim? Okay. The lunar samples collected during the Chang 5 missions are significant because, well, let's see what's different about it. Same spot. It's a mare, oceanless procellarum. Weird. 3.6, 3.3, 3.8, and 2.0. It's a lot younger by almost 1.5 billion years. So can't be this one because not true. This one could be. Let's check other ones. Closest in age? No. Helped confirm the predicted ages? Not really. So gotta be this one. Okay, question 13. How many are there? There's 27. Okay, so we're halfway through. I think this one makes sure to get the long passages, yeah. Would support the researcher's hypothesis. Hypothesize that TMAO reduces water's compressibility. Again, these long scientific ones, they're trying to mess you up because, like, I mean, who knows about water's compressibility? But we can just come in and think, okay, water forms blah, blah, blah. Hypothesize, okay, a positive correlation between the depths that they inhibit and the concentrations of compound called that. Hmm. So which would support the hypothesis? Well, we're looking for compressibility. We want to decrease it. Okay. So this one, if you're looking at it scientifically, this could be right because molecular structures retain their shape, but this has nothing to do with water. So directly we can cross this one out. And this one, if TMO doesn't do anything, then why does it matter? Can't be this one. This one, a positive correlation between the increasing TMAO and the molecular compression. That's the opposite of the hypothesis. So we're gonna go with D. And I really haven't read it, but under high pressure reveals that hydrogen bonds are more stable when it's present. That makes sense. You really don't need to know the chemistry or anything. So check. Okay. Okay, next one. Which logically completes the text? Haven't been able to determine the age of the crater. Therefore, the team suggests what? Okay, let's see. So they claim that the impact caused supports their view. However, they haven't been able to determine the age of the crater. It can't, so therefore, it can't be concluded that, well, it's not this, because this has nothing to do with age. This has this, nothing to do with age, nothing to do with age. So it's gotta be this, because this has to do with the beginning, age. There we go. Okay, so again, you're trying to prove the other one's wrong, not necessarily prove that yours is right. We'll see this more later because a lot of this stuff has to do with three wrong, one right. Okay, so how did Wales, okay, and her colleagues in January 2023, you can just plug these in. Neri and her colleagues published a study showing changes over time in four. That makes sense. Publishing, no. Having published a study showing changes in time. See, having published leads you on to have a second statement. There's no second statement. Doesn't make sense. To publish. So it's gotta be published. Yeah, let's check that one. Yeah, so, okay, again, more of the vocab. A decade later, Land used his technology to invent the world's first. To have used, no. To use, no. And using, no. It's used. Just plug it in. A decade later, Land used his technology to invent the world's first instant camera. Makes sense. It's gotta be that one. There we go. Okay. Also, what I've noticed a lot recently is that the SAT in the part two has been trying to get like trip you up on these tense questions because they'll say something that makes you think it should be one thing, but then like it'll be a super long sentence, and at the end of the sentence, they'll have a phrase that changes the tense. So make sure to read the whole sentence through at the least. So when they were first introduced to Western Europe, and we're looking at them, this, that, or it. Okay. The bishop condemned the eating utensils because he considered. So we're talking about the eating utensils. Consider the eating utensils. Consider this, that, it, or them. Them, because they're plural. Okay. Um, which completes again more vocabulary. I mean more tenses. So using one of these non-copyrighted songs blank, a creator won't lose advertising revenue. So just don't even look at the option choices here. Okay, think to yourself. The word is ensure, to ensure. So having used one of these using one of these copyright songs ensures the creator won't lose advertising revenue. That's the only one that can fit, so it's got to be right. There we go. A lot of people say don't look at the answer choices, and I agree with this because I don't look at the answer choices when I do my SAT myself. I think to myself what's right before I look at the choices. Okay, what makes a theremin a unique musical instrument? You play it without touching it. When you place your hand, this is the possession. If you guys are messing this up, then you guys just need to slow down. Okay, does hands have possession? No. Does antennas have possession? No, because neither of them own anything here. So there's no apostrophes anywhere. There's gotta be B. Check. Okay. 20. BEC, and whew, is a pain. Okay. So what we can see is this forms an independent thought, an independent clause. No apostrophe and a fanboy. Like there's no comma plus a fanboy. So 0 commas and a fanboy. That's the same thing as a comma. And both of these exist. It can't be this one. So now we're left with this one and this one. Now we just gotta check it. One such type of matter is a form of liquid cooled gas called BEC. Okay, that is a full statement. So it has to be this one. Because anything else will make a run-on sentence, and this just would not form a complete, like, reasonable thought. Okay. Okay, I'm really bad at transitions, but these ones should not be hard to figure out because they have like different meanings. Founded the video game studio Blue 12. They also love cats. In fact, so we're talking about cats. None of these other options make sense. On the other hand, is a contrast. No, nevertheless, also a contrast. So both of these can be wrong. Intermittently, what are they intermitting? Nothing. So it's got to be C. Okay. In most deer species, males grow antlers and females don't. Are different. There's a contrast. So we're looking for a contrast word, like however. These two are not really contrast, and neither is this one. Okay. Won his first ever storytelling competition. So we're talking about in 2014, and then we're talking about in 2017. Not instead, because that's a contrast, and we're not looking for contrast. In other words, be for the same thing, but it's not the same thing. For example, I mean, we're not really making an example of anything, so we're looking for later. So just try to argue why it could be right or wrong. And that really helps me figure it out. No one can deny, however, contrast. So these are not contrast words, but this one is. However, though, contrast words. Okay. 25. In 1965, and then a whole bunch of yap. Whenever we get the notes, you don't even need to read it. I don't think I've read a single one. Wants to present the study and its findings. Which is irrelevant? Okay. Um. So the study and its findings. So we need to present the study and the findings. So here's findings. Are there any findings in this one? No. Is it what the study is? Are there any findings in this one? No. Are there any findings in this one? Also, no. Has to be. 26. Wants to emphasize the difference between the two approaches. So we had to mention both approaches and then mention a difference. This one, similarity, because they're using the same ingredient. This one doesn't even talk about differences. This one doesn't mention both of them. This one talks about difference because rye is using a natural thing while the manufacturer is using hazardous chemicals. Okay, this last one, emphasize the aim of the research study. So it's what is the study trying to do? So this is the findings, not what we're looking for. This is what the study is, not what we're looking for. Like where it did it. This is where the study was, not what we're looking for. This is again the findings, not what we're looking for. So we're looking for what they're trying to do, the aim. They thought to determine. So it's gotta be. Yeah, that's all of them. I got 100%. And let me know if you guys want me to go over anything else, because this was this one was this one wasn't very difficult compared to the ones that I see on the actual SAT. So let me know if there's any other practice tests you want me to go over. And good luck on your SAT.